Hey everybody, this is Ads coming to you from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Today's video is sponsored by Avalo, which offers free 24/7 mental health support. You can download their iOS or Android app at www.avalo.app or search Avalo app, all one word, on either one of the stores. Today we're going to talk about asking for help. Asking for help can be extraordinarily difficult, especially for individuals that are within groups of people, identities, or cultures that traditionally have barriers to being vulnerable, expectations of ways that people are supposed to act. The machismo Latin culture is a great example. I think the African American male community has a similar kind of, can't admit when you're struggling. I certainly know white men struggle with that. We are afraid, oftentimes, I'm speaking from a male perspective here, we think that we will be perceived as weak. And I think that's largely our greatest fear as a man, as a provider, as a family member, that we are incapable of providing for our family. And if I ask for help, that means I can't do it myself. That means I'm worthless. And that prevents a lot of people from asking for help. I think that's one of the reasons that men commit suicide so much more often than women. While the prevalence rates of mental health conditions are more common in women, the amount of people who actually commit suicide is drastically a male-dominated activity, and it's hard. It was one of the things that prevented me from getting help until it was almost too late. I actually tried to ask for help from my parents, and it didn't go as planned. I got a comment that was, okay, it seems like you're struggling, we'll absolutely help you. However, you're probably going through a phase. So what did I hear? I heard you're probably going through a phase, and I didn't think that I was supposed to or needed to get help. So I kept on living my life and becoming more and more comfortable with the idea of committing suicide. Why is that? Came from a family where performance and achievement is extremely important. Proficiency is valued, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's because my family are trying to help me build skills that are valuable in society. And asking for mental and emotional help is not something that's associated with strength, which is so odd, because in many instances of, like, let's just take war culture, for example, it's an extreme sign of humility and strength to humble yourself in front of a peer and ask for their help. If you think of any sort of like war movie, for example, there's a meeting between two lords. One of them is facing impending doom. It takes a lot to go to that other lord and say, will you help me and bring your armies to fight? Because we don't have the skills to beat this enemy. But that, when it comes to struggling with our own war, our day-to-day war, is not something that's celebrated in our life. It's something that particularly men, and probably many women, feel is oftentimes a sign of weakness, because I don't have the proficiency to do it myself, which means I'm inadequate. When in reality, the people who achieve the most probably often ask for help. Some command help, some people ask for it. Why are we so afraid of it? And what can we do about it? Well, I think it starts with having the right language. When I was asking for mental and emotional health help, I didn't have the right language. I didn't even know how to say the words. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say, what I did say was, I think I need to see somebody, which was supposed to imply that I should be able to see a mental health professional, which I think is a decent start. I would highly recommend that individuals go to school counselors, teachers, HR offices, after-school program coordinators, coaches, neighbors, family, relatives, preferably somebody who's got a professional relationship to you, just because then they oftentimes have more coaching on how to address a child or an adult asking for help. And sometimes the family and friends can have their own wrapped up mental and emotional barriers to seeing why it could be a good thing for you. So years later, I would have a conversation with my father about why he said you're probably going through a phase, which is what prevented me from accessing mental and emotional health support. And he said he was doing it out of his own fear of being an inadequate father, not out of a thinking that help was the wrong thing for me. He didn't think that at all. He was afraid to admit to himself that he might need a professional to help counsel his son on how to exist in the world, which is also a challenging, humbling experience. So I don't fault him for that at all. And sometimes those familial barriers can get in the way to accessing care. So if you talk to a coach, a teacher, the HR department, an employee assistance program, the county, like mental health help line, the 24/7 call, Avalo, these are places where help seeking is encouraged. National Alliance on Mental Illness is a great resource in every state in the United States. Asking for help is just something that is not easy to do, but really is the first step when it comes to making progress in somebody's mental and emotional health, because I would venture to argue that every individual is trying their best at addressing their mental and emotional health. I would argue every individual is turning over every stone, using every ounce of their faculties, using whatever skills and tools that are at their disposal. They may not be fine-tuned or honed, but even that is a deliberate choice by that individual. Like if you think somebody's not trying hard enough, for example, not trying hard enough is still a very real limitation that individual is going through. So what that suggests is like their faculties at this point are exhausted. So asking for help, getting a second opinion, getting a professional involved, in my opinion, is always the first step towards mental health progress, and is critical for anybody who's struggling with any sort of ongoing mental or emotional health challenge.